I don't really foresee people having a good take on things, maybe because it's new or fresh in the news. But uh, you have to look at this big picture, guys. And I think the problem is whether it is whether it's destroying the Iran nuclear sites or intervening with the Houthis and things like that. People are forever going back to the foreign policy of the Bush era, and they think that's the metric they're measuring Trump on, while they're ignoring two very uh, important facts. Fact number one is the world is a very different place than it was on September 11th, 2001. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. It's a much different place than it was on September 12th, 2001. All right. This is Venezuela, of course, guys, is in South America. It's in our hemisphere. This is not Iraq. This is not Libya. It's not Boko Haram in Nigeria. This is directly underneath Florida, basically, for all intents and purposes. Okay. Uh, Dangerously close. The thing that I find really staggering is people who have a very weak grasp of history. Do you not understand, guys? The last time the United States seriously forget the uh, incursions with the Soviet Union in the 70s and 80s. Honestly, we were an eyelash away from nuclear war in 1963 during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Okay, need I remind you guys that Cuba is 90 miles off the coast of Miami? All right. That's nothing, guys. That's a ferry ride. And that's where the Soviet Union had the missiles stockpiled. And through some miracle, the eastern seaboard was hand to God is all I could say. The eastern seaboard was saved. Otherwise, I don't know if I'd be talking to you right now, especially where you are, Patrick, in District of Columbia. That would have been target number one, probably. So be very grateful that it didn't come to that 60 years ago, and be very grateful that you have a president, flaws and all, who can take care of this situation and be aggressive with it. Because, guys, there's no recourse. You have to understand you're getting these semi-intellectual takes that people think are really hot and edgy, like Venezuela doesn't produce fentanyl. That comes from Mexico vis-a-vis China. Uh, Correct. But, you know, guys, there's a lot of money in that white powder, irregardless of how you distribute it, whether it's in, raw fentanyl, straight up, like I tell everybody, you got a cocaine problem. I would not be, I would hang that problem up. I don't like to tell adults what to do, but there's some nasty shit in today's cocaine. This is not the 1980s. It's not Miami Vice. This isn't the pure nose candy from Bolivia anymore, Colombia. This stuff is poisoned. As you can see, it's an epidemic in our U.S. society with people being hooked on this stuff and dying. A lot of people are using recreational drugs that is laced with some bad stuff, bad concoctions. So it does. It's kind of like a chicken or the egg thing, is what people are arguing. Like, why aren't we going after Mexico because they're the ones that are uh, uh, taking the raw material from China and making it into the death product? I don't even know why people are doing those sort of gymnastics to prove their point. Narco terrorism is the lifeblood, and so is oil, but narco terrorism is the lifeblood of the cartels. Now, the cartels, guys, are basically the ISIS of Latin America. This is straightforward stuff. I know you guys know this, but this is recorded, so there might be some dumbass who listens to this later who doesn't know that. All right. So it's a very profitable. Like I said, there's a lot of money in this. Okay, oil is what countries like Venezuela used. I say past tense because all that changed recently. Is what they used to be quote unquote legitimate. That's what Maduro and Chavez before him used to be. That was their legitimate on the books uh, commerce was oil. Okay, but where were they making some real money? They were and doing the dirty work of really China, drug trafficking, human trafficking. They kind of go hand in hand. So again, let's bring this back to my original point here. Big picture. We're securing our hemisphere, guys, and people are wondering, why are we doing that? Why are we not spending more time in, trying to solve the issue in Ukraine? I'm going to get to that, by the way. Why are we not spending more time domestically? I don't think people understand. Just because you do not use drugs or you don't have any addictions, consider yourself blessed, guys, that you don't have a drug problem, because all of us have addicts in our circle, whether it's family, friends, could be a spouse. Okay. Then you live a very sterile life if you don't know anybody who has not been affected by drugs. Okay. Everything is laced now, guys, even marijuana. Nothing is safe. That's why I keep saying, PSA, I don't like to tell adults what to do. I think that it's none of my business and that it's an infringement on your rights as a free thinking human being. But I'm just telling you guys, don't say I didn't warn you. Okay? So let's continue. I'll just leave it at that. I'm not here to parent people. It's condescending to all of you. You guys can make whatever decisions you want. I would just say I would kind of hit pause on your habits, okay, your vices at this particular time, because there's no guarantee it's safe, guys. Okay, even the legit stuff you get in these state-run stores or distributors or whatever. I don't trust any of it. I've seen people that get their drugs off the street, and I've seen people that have a marijuana card, and they're both equally fucking fried in their own regard. Okay, so continuing, we're doing something about this in Venezuela. A, because they posed a major threat, not militarily, but with other things, which we'll get into. Um, but what happened on late Friday night, early Saturday morning, is basically the middleman, if you will, of oil and narco terrorism, which was a weapon used by China and other, Hezbollah and Iran, Russia, to terrorize the Western Hemisphere here, was subdued. I'll put it to you that way, subdued. All right, it's a very very bold move by President Trump, a very necessary one, I'll say, as well. We'll get into that. I'm sure you guys have opinions on it. Now, if you listen to his Air Force One press conference yesterday or last night, I listened to it early this morning. They kept on asking him about Greenland next, and he said, "Talk to me about that." I'm paraphrasing, but he said, "Talk to me about that in 2 months." I think if you're a student of history, you understand uh, what the United States has lacked in a few years is naval supremacy in the Western Hemisphere. That's all going to change, guys. Uh, Not my opinion, and it's not hopium. You have to look at what the president's been talking about: rebuilding the naval fleet, an Arctic fleet. This is where Greenland comes into the picture. What we have done with Venezuela is very complex, but if I could simplify it, we secured the southern flank, if you will, Latin America, South America, amongst many other things. Greenland would secure the northern flank. Okay. So you're looking at a northern Atlantic fleet or an Arctic fleet, a southern uh, fleet closer to the equator, et cetera, down in South America, Central America. That's the target. We have to solidify our backyard. This is where the Monroe Doctrine comes into play, guys, and is now it looks like it's being called the Dunroe Doctrine. These are very, very bold historic moves by a president, guys. It's lost on us how important this is to our future and to securing the hemisphere. It's not nation building. And Marco Rubio, who's I think is doing an excellent job, said it perfectly yesterday on all the news he was doing, all the Sunday morning uh, political talk shows like uh, what was it, Meet the Press and what have you. He said people are obsessed with Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, and they're two totally different scenarios. And if you're an anti-neocon person who's just like seething at what President Trump and our great Delta Force did over the weekend, then you should be very happy. Because what did Alex Jones, what was he telling us for years? What were the anti-interventionalists? I don't disagree with that. I'm presenting their side of the story, which isn't necessarily my side of the story. But bin Laden, Iraq was no threat to us at the time. That is a correct statement. Okay. Now, Saddam Hussein was not a good person, obviously. But isn't it funny how the minute the Bushes removed him from power, ISIS popped up? And the entire Levant, which is Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, uh, went from bad to worse in like 6 months. So you need a very hard person to be leader of a country in that part of the world. Why do you think President Trump is allowing basically a warlord as the new president of Syria? Well, he's not new; he's been there like 6 or 8 months or whatever, but 6, 7 months or whatever. But you see what I'm getting at here, okay? You can't have a duly elected mannequin, somebody who looks like Gavin Newsom, who looks good in a suit, but in the middle in the Levant, they don't respect that uh, sort of politician. Okay, so I'm telling you all this because they're correct. All the people like Ian Carroll, Dave Smith, and all the retards on this app, who you all know who they are. Um, I didn't vote for this. The Massies, how is this America first? It's insulting to have to listen to these people. My brain dies every time Thomas Massey talks. My brain dies a little bit every time Marjorie Taylor Greene, you know, opens her big fat mouth with that disgusting Southern drawl that she has. Okay, makes me want to punch my phone every time I hear her talk. She's a disgusting person. Okay. Um, This is not the same situation. Yes, in 2003, Saddam Hussein was not doing anything to the United States. That is correct. That is not correct, Mr. Libertarian, Mr. Anti Neocon, Mr. Anti Nation Builder, in 2025/2026 regarding Caracas, Venezuela. Uh, yes, Saddam Hussein under Bill Clinton did not allow 10 to 12 million. They don't even have 10 to 12 million of their worst ISIS radicals, Islamic radicals, walk into the United States via the Rio Grande. But guess what? Nicolas Maduro, Venezuela, and Joe Biden as president did. So, yes, Venezuela committed acts of war against the United States. That was an invasion under a president with dementia. You could call it what you want. I'm calling it what it actually is. And that was an act of war. So we have every right to retaliate against Venezuela. And you can't say, well, you can't hold Maduro responsible. It was Biden. He opened the border up. Okay, so tell that to Lake and Riley's parents, guys. Tell that to Jocelyn Nungary's parents. I don't really think they give a shit that Biden had dementia and that it was his fault. It never should have happened. And the biggest contingent of people from Latin America that invaded this country under Biden were people from Venezuela, full stop. Why do you think we sent them all to rot to death in that prison in El Salvador? It's, by the way, that's too good for them. They've taken over blue cities in small areas, particularly Denver's a big hub, I believe. They're the worst of the worst, guys. So yes, we have every right to retaliate. And by the way, for those of you so-called constitutional scholars out there that don't know what you're talking about, like Thomas Massey in Kentucky. He needs to take a refresher course in Article 2, presidential powers. We don't need to seek a declaration of war to do what we did. I think here's the best way I can explain this to you guys. Our founding fathers did not want a monarch. They also didn't want a prime minister beholden to the legislature. Our president is something in between. He's a chief executive. The best way to put it, guys, is the president is basically the CEO of the United States of America. He doesn't have to go to Congress to ask, you know, can I blow my nose today? Can I pick my nose and eat it? Don't listen to these ridiculous Congress people on this app that have absolutely no idea of the domain and jurisdiction of what a president can do. Guys, even go on the corrupted Chat GPT or Grok and ask what is, in broad sense, Article 2 presidential powers. Okay? With a lot of fancy words, what it says is, and George Washington realized this when he was elected president, guys, that here's one thing that is clear in the Constitution. The president basically dictates foreign policy and relations with other countries. And by the way, trade and commerce. So I've spent a year talking about the tariffs and that the president has every right to do that. Article 2, guys. He's not declaring war on the Venezuelan people or even what's left of the Venezuelan government. And it wasn't just a military action. And I'll let you guys pop in here in a minute here. It was also a law enforcement action. There's a reason why Maduro has been sleeping in uh, Manhattan the last 2 nights. He has a court date, I believe, today, or an arraignment. There was a warrant for his arrest. Okay? This is not Saddam Hussein. This is not regime change. Anybody who's telling you that, guys, is trying to push a narrative, if you will, that's not rooted in reality. Remember when you were told World War III was going to happen in June when Operation Midnight Hammer took out the Iran nuclear sites? Doesn't look like World War III to me, guys. Does it feel like World War III to you? You guys just celebrated Christmas. Let's go back to the last World War, World War II. Are we rationing steel and aluminum? Are we rationing food? Every one of us can go in the grocery store and buy whatever the fuck we want today. Okay? World War II, you couldn't do that. That's when you're in a world war, not a strategic strike on Iranian nuclear sites. Okay? That's not a world war. Okay? As far as, look how many countries were involved in World War I and World War II. I'm pretty sure that Zimbabwe and Belarus had nothing to do with the strike on the Iran nuclear facilities in June. Okay, that's a world war, guys. I don't think Australia and New Zealand was there to help us out. I don't think the UK was there to help us out. Okay, that's the difference between a world war and a strategic strike. One requires the declaration of war uh, from Congress. One does not. I really wish people would learn history. People say learn civics. I say learn history in that order. Read your history first, then so you can see how we've conducted foreign policy, and then see what it actually says in the Constitution. Then you can see who's right and who's wrong. Okay. Let me just wrap this up, and then you guys could talk. Greenland. He's getting a lot of questions about that. It's an inevitability, guys. The Greenland. Trump does not want to make Greenland a state or a territory. He wants the ports, guys. We're basically evicting China and Russia out of the Western Hemisphere. That is the long story short, that is the plan here. And to do that, you need naval superiority and commerce superiority. The United States, guys, we were founded as a we tried to mimic what our former sovereign England did. England had naval supremacy. The British Empire had naval supremacy throughout the world. We were trying to replicate the same thing. We've been dealing with pirates since time immemorial, guys. All right. We want clean nautical commerce on the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. So this is the long-term plan. We need the ports, yes, for security, but also to uh, show off our naval dominance, naval superiority in the Western Hemisphere. We've lost that. We're getting it back. Make no mistake, Trump just hired Finland to make icebreakers for us. We have the Golden Fleet, and the first one will be done in 2 years. The USS Defiant. Faster, have the best armaments, and they'll be the most feared, vessels in the world. This is part of the big plan, guys. And there's a whole lot of nuance. Some big nuance, like ending drug trafficking and human trafficking in Latin America, and small nuance, like commerce. And if you listen to the Danish premier's or prime minister, she's there's nothing she could do, guys. We already have an air force, a space, well, it's Air Force, Space Force base on Greenland. There's nothing she could do. And by the way, read some history on Greenland. Denmark is, in my opinion, they stole Greenland from Norway around the time of Napoleon. Okay. Uh, the Danish monarchy or past monarchy basically uh, grabbed up Iceland, Greenland, etc. after the Napoleonic Wars. Again, nobody reads history, so nobody knows this stuff. It's not really interesting history, but it's relevant. Okay. So basically, when Scandinavia was broken, the Danish were the last ones that had a dog sled on Greenland. That's how they quote unquote acquired it. Okay. They didn't fight any war over it. All right. They didn't settle it like we settled the Americas. Okay. They didn't have their version of the pilgrims go over there and baptize Eskimos. It was nothing like that. They were basically the last European colonizers standing on Greenland when it was really Norwegian territory, if you will. So their claim can be contested. The problem is Norway has no balls to do. I mean, it's kind of passe. It was 260 years ago, so they probably don't give a shit about it anymore. But again, this is the situation. Denmark is a paper tiger, okay, over Greenland. They don't do anything for those people. First of all, their economy is about 2 billion USD per year. They don't have the money to do anything for. Here's the thing, and Trump is right about this. It's not jingoism or American uh, bravado. He's making an accurate statement. They can't afford Greenland. They can't afford to take care of the people. They can't afford to improve it. Does that mean that we take it over? Probably. And guess what? Here's the best part. We're going to keep our hands very clean because about 8 or 9 months ago, they voted to begin independence from Denmark. It's going to be a long process, but the support is there. Their populist parties in their parliament are rising. I studied it a little bit. I don't know a lot about it, obviously, but anyway, uh, yeah, I would say Greenland is going to be a nice little birthday present for President Trump, and we'll say around June of this year. And let me leave it there. A lot to talk about. I'd like to hear your opinions on the matter. with Venezuela. And if you're separating reality from lies, because you're hearing a lot of lies about American imperialism and nation building, and Trump is doing the same thing Bush did. No, incorrect. All right. Let's see who's up. Cow Daddy, what's up?
Hey, good morning, Gads. Always good to hear you talk about the reality of shit. So back when Obama was president, they put a $25 million bounty on Maduro for I guess he had stolen the American oil companies over there, basically stealing American oil that they had a contract with. And then I remember Trump when he was in office 2016 to 2020. He made that law that when the 2020 election was stolen, that anybody that was involved in that stuff was going to lose their assets. Well, not only are they losing their assets, but they're losing their asses because Venezuela was the biggest influencer and on the fraudulent votes in the United States. So that was brought out by the My Pillow guy. That was between Venezuela, China. So, and then now with all the other things that, like you're saying, with the narco terrorists and trafficking of drugs, all that has been declared war on drugs, and he's just complacent about it. Didn't want to have nothing to do with it or try to fight it. So, yeah, the warrant value went up, the bounty went up to $50 million, and our military went in and did what they had to do. So I'm pretty happy about it. I've got quite a few friends that are citizens here, but they're from Venezuela. That they're pretty happy about it too because they still have family there. So,
Buddy, yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, it's the lot. The bottom line is, guys, Venezuela has been a big problem for the United States in big and small ways. Okay, I did a whole conversation on the commerce aspect of what they were doing, but you got to remember again, it is a beachhead of all of our geopolitical rivals, namely China and Russia. Okay, this greatly reduces the leverage that Putin has in any sort of negotiation uh, with Ukraine going forward. So this is a dominoes effect. We won't see those dominoes fall today or next week or next month, but that's like more of a long-term situation. So that's the story there. Cuervo, I see you up next, and then Capes after you. What's up?
Yeah, I want to just say this. I think Marco Rubio really impressed me this weekend. The comments he made after Trump were totally spot on. And then when he went out to all the, Sunday morning media shows, they tried to pin him down, and he wouldn't let them. He wouldn't let him get away with like the we invaded a sovereign nation bullshit. He kind of put it out like, hey, like what I liked about him was that there was no fluff, and he called out the obvious, which is, getting rid of Russia and China influence over that country and its oil reserves. Right? This is an America's issue, and I think what I like seeing with what we did with Venezuela is it's just another layer in which we're going and taking back South America, right? Like the communists and China's influence over these countries like Brazil, who had their own insurrection and stolen election too, right? In Brazil a couple years ago. And that's all largely influenced by China. So one by one, country after country, we're clawing back this China influence over that region, which is great. My last point that I wanted to add is just the level of hypocrisy that exists within the Democrat Party, and actually even some Republicans like Massey, it's just outstanding to me that they can simp for a drug cartel leader, um, and just simp for him. So now I got a question, like, how many people in our government are controlled by communist China, right? Through layering of funding and stuff like that, right? Like campaign donations, where are they all coming from? I think that's going to be the next thing that gets exposed. And one last thing too, for a guy that just got arrested as a narco terrorist and in jail, Maduro looks pretty content. So I think there's something more to this story that we're not seeing yet, because hey, we don't know what the president knows, but I think that there's going to be more to come on that. I just my humble opinion.
Well, they extracted him under extreme duress. So he was about 5 seconds away from getting in his safe room, according to President Trump. The Delta Force got to him before he could close the door and lock it. So he was not extracted by a voluntary means, Cuervo. That much is certain. You don't use Delta Force for a friendly pickup. So they're the baddest fucking guys we have on the planet. Is our Delta. By the way, hats off to them. Um, and it's not an invasion, like you said, correct? Because we don't have any. We might have CIA assets there. We don't have any uniform. I know we do. We don't have any uniform military there in Caracas at this particular moment. They did their job and they got out. They did their job and they got out. It's not an occupation. It's not regime. How can it be regime change when the Venezuelan people don't consider him a duly elected president? Not his last go around. He might have been duly elected in 2008 or whatever when he first, but there's controversy over that. What's the other guy? Guaiardo. They thought he was the winner the last time there was an quote unquote election. So I don't know. George Bush Sr. did this with Manuel Noriega in Panama, guys. I mean, I was in junior high, but I mean, I think many people have very, very weak historical backgrounds or memory recollection. We've been doing this for a while, guys. We've been attacking pirates on the open sea going back to Thomas Jefferson. Okay. We've been, I mean, the Monroe Doctrine. James Monroe was the 5th president, guys. It's a long fucking time ago. Monroe Doctrine's been in place since the 1820s. I don't know where you guys have been. Those of you that are questioning this in totality. Okay, we're talking about 200 years of the Monroe Doctrine, now the Dunroe Doctrine, evidently. So I'm getting some questions about Somalia, too. My prediction last week was correct. Tim Walz looks like he's not going to run for re-election. So I can tell you, if none of that came out, friends, he would be running for re-election in the state of Minnesota. So anyway, all right, I think Cape is next. Janet, I see you up here in no quarter. So this is good. You guys are actually talking. So I don't have to talk for 2 hours. I talk too much. Cape, go ahead.
Yeah, buddy. Thanks for the space and the mic. It's unfortunate the timing of the space. I was hoping to gloat about hockey, but that window is pretty much closed after last night. I just wanted to clarify with the early 70s there during the Nixon administration, Congress enacted the War Measures Resolution, or the War Measures Act, which was a War Powers Act, I should say, which was meant to somewhat restrict presidential authority. But it was understood that, especially for clandestine operations, the president did not need approval of Congress. So it restricts the president to, the president has 48 hours in which to notify, not beg for permission, but notify Congress of overseas operations. And he cannot commit the troops being active for more than 6 months, if I'm not mistaken. But he was 100% within his authority. The War Powers Resolution did restrict that authority, but this operation was 100% within the authority of the president.
Absolutely. Absolutely, guys. So And the other thing is too, is done with special operators. What are special operators? Navy SEALs, Delta Force, et cetera, et cetera. So not regular Army. Okay. So yes, there seems to be a lot of confusion. Trump is not seeking to declare war on Venezuela. Hence, he's not going to Congress for approving a declaration. Do you understand that? He doesn't want to go to war with the country of Venezuela. Okay, he doesn't want to go to war with Maduro's political party, whatever it's even called. I don't even know. There's no intention of war. He's removing a fugitive, basically, of the United States. They have evidence, guys. There's so much evidence that what Venezuela did, even though Joe Biden was compliant, they're the ones that were committing belligerent and warlike acts. They are sending a transnational gang through our southern border, and they've killed people, and they've caused mayhem and destruction in various Democrat cities over the last 4 years. I don't understand what's complicated about this. And a targeted strike is not in order. You guys don't know President Trump and his intentions. It's amazing, after a decade on the political scene, people still don't understand how his mind works. Crazy. Janet, hi.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Janet, do you want to go? Are you there?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope.
I had my mic off. I'm so sorry. Good morning, everyone. I want people to realize that this operation took many, many, many months to prepare for before they decided to even do this. So way back when the first boat was taken out, I was telling people in my DM groups that this is more to do with than drugs. They're planning something big, and we just have to be patient. And man, it was big. I just hope they protect him while they have him in office or in prison or jail or whatever, because many people that were in bed with him don't want him singing like a canary. So they're going to do everything they can to take him out. And I mean people on what we think are our side. We have rhinos out the wazoo. But I think this has a lot to do with what happened in 2020 and beforehand. Because I think they already were working on things like that. Election fraud is what I'm talking about, with China and a couple other countries before 2016, and more evidence of that's been coming out. So I think this is going to be one of the reasons why they wanted him. And after they're doing the process that's going on right now, I guarantee there's people talking to him about the evidence they have against him and his country, people involved for the election fraud, because everyone involved in that should be up on treason charges. And there's a lot of people involved in this. This is way bigger than any of us can even imagine. And I cannot wait to see the stuff start to pour out. And it's going to very soon, I think, because it is slowly leaking out. But there is thousands of pieces in this puzzle. And I trust in Trump's judgment. And I think that he's had a long time to think about this and plan out the way it's got to unfold to the best of their ability, because you got to remember, he has had lawfare at every single step, and all these states with the corruption in them, which is in every single state, whether we want to believe it or not, every single state has somebody involved in this corruption. And that's a lot of people. And you got the FBI, Kash Patel, trying to weed through all these people. You have Pam Bondi trying to set out all the legal jargon with all her people to make sure that when it goes to court, they have what they need. And then we have all these people fighting to get better judges in there and get rid of some of these corrupt ones that the Clintons, the Obamas, and the Biden administration has been putting in. And we have so many rhinos fighting at every single step to stop Trump. So I'm amazed that Trump has gotten as much done as he has, honestly, and also took a bullet for this country. So I'm proud to say I voted for Trump, and I'm still going to hang in there as long as I can until I am proven otherwise, that Trump is in it for himself and that he's just in it to take a big old fat check from Israel or whoever these people want to say that he is. It hasn't swayed my point of view when it comes to whether I think he's doing everything he can to try to save our country and to be as transparent as possible. That's all I wanted to add. Thank you very much for letting me speak, and God bless America.
You're welcome. You're welcome. The election integrity stuff, I have to be transparent here, guys. I never really paid much attention to Venezuela's involvement in the 2020 election, for better or for worse. I personally think it'll lead to a lot of dead ends. I don't know if they have the prima facie evidence there, but I'm hopeful for that.
Can I add one more thing? I'm sorry.
Yeah, yes.
I put two things down in the bubble chat because it stays. Please share this space so that you can have that information to look at later on your timeline, because it does stay with this space. But I did put stuff in there from the past about Maduro being involved in the cheating, using a Smartmatic, or I'm sorry, I'm really bad with remembering all the names of these companies that are involved in these electronic machines. Cuervo, I'm sure, is going to have something to say about it too, but I really do believe that a lot of this is going to boil down to that, along with the other corruption with money laundering, human trafficking, and drugs. So that's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
Yep. No worries. Thank you. Yeah, you guys take that information if you want to bookmark it for later. Absolutely. I think it was something Cuervo said earlier, actually. When you see Massey and MTG questioning the validity of what Trump is doing, I don't. It's not 6 degrees of separation, guys. It's like 2 degrees of separation. You have to presume at this point that they're compromised by China. Okay, and I understand that they have that shield wall of questioning Israel, and that buys them a lot of simps on here. As much as I don't like Israel either, I have to be very clear about that. I don't obsess about it, but I have my own reasons for not supporting the Israeli government, particularly Netanyahu. But I think there comes a point, guys, where you have to be able to decipher fact from fiction here. And again, Massey's a smart guy. MTG is not smart, but the people running her now, I think, have some level of intelligence, because she's basically a PR asset of the left at this point. What's going to take my eyes off about China? Blaming everything on Israel. You have to think, guys, China was smart enough to get an eyelash away from global domination. I think they're smart enough to pick politicians that have had very suspect views towards Israel and say, well, if we have this shield wall of them criticizing Netanyahu, then that will allow them a lot of latitude and leeway with feeble-minded people on this app. Ian Carroll's the perfect example. Alex Jones is another. They're feeble-minded. All right.
I'm kind of retarded.
There's another one then. You know what I'm saying, guys. This is very what did they call it in the Soviet Union? Agitprop, Pravda. I mean, think about it, guys. What is so special about Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene? Oh, nothing. The short answer is absolutely nothing. Like, they think of these things, guys. China's our biggest adversary, geopolitically speaking. They have all the bases covered, guys. This is very, very simple handiwork of Beijing and the China CCP. All right, let's continue here. Patrick, you haven't spoken yet. We'll go to you.
Is this thing on?
It is.
So a couple things. One, I found out, I would assume this is accurate. I don't remember where I saw it this morning, but it looks like all of Maduro's guards were Cuban. He didn't even trust his own people to come in and provide his security. At least that was the way the tweet was presented. Again, I forget who it was. And then we had the whole situation of the Chinese air defense stuff didn't work, the radar defense or whatever detection. At least that's what they're claiming. I don't know if that's true. You know, what real defense would they have had? But, you know, I find that all kind of anecdotally interesting. And then you got Trump talking about Cuba on the plane yesterday, more than Greenland, right? Now, I know someone that is back and forth from Europe down there, and they already had problems getting food. Unless you're in like in a tourist area, you know, they got power problems. It's just the place is a mess. So without Venezuela supplying them, how long is Cuba going to survive? That whole system was just completely disrupted, at least hypothetically. And we don't know what's going on with the president down in Venezuela now, vice president, whoever she is, the head idiot in charge. You know, what's really going to happen? Are they going to assassinate her? You know, who knows? I mean, the cartels are in charge, right? So what are they going to do? Because their
Not
gravy
anymore.
train's drying up, right?
The cartels aren't in charge anymore.
You
Patrick,
sure?
I'll let you finish. I'm pretty sure right now.
Okay,
Because
go
they
ahead.
sat on.
I'm done.
No, you can finish. They sat on their hands on Friday night, even when they found out it was happening. And they had plenty of assets. I'm not talking about the Venezuelan military or militia. Exactly your point. They sat there and watched Maduro get extracted. They knew exactly what was up. You made some excellent points. For those of you that don't know, President Trump talked about this. There's a lot of dead Cubans. Okay. Yes, he was surrounded by Cuban guards. Correct. Okay. So for those of you that think he's a legitimate leader, that's like Trump not having the Secret Service. Instead, he's got, you know, mercenaries from South Africa guarding him because he can't trust Secret Service. So that goes to speak to the legitimacy of Maduro if you think the guy is actually the leader of that country. Secondly, people are wondering about the president and vice president. If Maduro is illegitimate, how is this? I think her name is Delcy Rodriguez. She's a woman. How is she legitimate? Because I think in that country, kind of like in our states, how governors and lieutenant governors might be of the same political party, but they don't run as a ticket. You know, so you could have like Greg Abbott could be elected Republican governor of Texas. There could be a Democrat lieutenant governor. Do you follow me? We don't have a lieutenant governor in New Hampshire because the state's too small. So that's why I think that's how it works in their phony elections is this woman might be the same political party as Maduro, but they don't run as a ticket. It's not like Maduro Rodriguez 2019, para el presidente. It's not like Trump Vance. Do you follow me? So her election, even though I'm sure it was rigged, she might have legitimately got the votes, whereas it was proven Maduro did not. That's my understanding. So that I think Dr. Seuss had a question about that. They don't run as a ticket, if you will, like we do. Does that make so? She was just the next highest ranking politician. Now, Patrick, the reason why I think the cartels are not in charge at the moment is because they would not have sat idle and allowed Delta Force to do the magnificent job they did. I'm not saying they would have been successful. I'm saying that they would have put up some form of resistance. And it seems like the only resistance that was being put up in Caracas that night. Remember, he was taken, his palace is on a military base, guys. Right? You had a lot of Cuban mercenaries killed on Friday night / Saturday morning. A lot of them. Lots of body bags, according to President Trump. None of our guys. We had wounded, but we didn't have any KIAs, thank God. So
Well,
Are,
so I want to
are the
ask.
cartels are the cartels in charge of Mexico and Colombia at this particular moment? Absolutely. Do the cartels have a presence in Caracas? Absolutely. Are they running things? Not as of 9:05 a.m. on Monday, 6 January. I don't think they have a
Well,
lot of influence at this moment. Yeah, good.
I want to ask. Okay, think of it this way. Obviously, they're dangerous in Mexico, right? The people out in the field. Are the manufacturers in Venezuela as dangerous, right? Or are they just there to produce and collect, right? So their cost, right? Cost of production. At some point, they got to have money. They're not selling oil. What commerce do they have? You know what I mean? Like there's a vacuum is what I'm, it doesn't matter what it is, whether they're producing widgets or cocaine. At some point, people are going to get hungry, meaning they're going to get hungry. Where's my money? Where's my money? Right? I mean, this wasn't really a stable economy outside of that, right? Oil and drugs. And who knows what else went on in the country, but I don't know. I know people, I grew up with someone's father's from Venezuela and saw him recently, and the man was as red as you and me and everybody else. And he, very sad for his country. He was so happy Trump was still running at the time and prayed that he get back in they could solve this. And here it sounds like we're solving it one day at a time. But so I guess my question is, it looks okay on paper right now as you've painted it, but I can't fathom where, there's going to be some angry drug lords down there, if you get my drift.
Yes, but I think it was inevitable, Patrick, and I think they saw the handwriting on the wall with the naval blockade over the last 2 months, and blowing up the speedboats going to Florida, et cetera, or in country in the United States. I mean, yes, I'm sure they're smart enough to have contingency plans and all that, but the problem is Maduro was such a great puppet for them, and Chavez before that for many, many years, that they've been able to operate in the shadows. And that's why Trump is saying this woman, Rodriguez, better watch her ass or the same thing's going to happen to her. Watch that. It's about 25 minutes. Unfortunately, he had Lindsey Graham on Air Force One. So you have to suffer his, faggot little, his stupidity. But other than that, you get some great nuggets of wisdom from the print there. And he's saying the same thing. She's on very, very, very thin ice at the moment. Very thin
I
ice
heard
at the moment. Good. Yep.
I heard Lindsay had was it a green make Iran great again hat on or something like that yesterday? That popped up. It was some live video, and his stupid ass is wearing some make Iran something hat. I don't know if that's true. I heard it in space last night, but yeah, some people were none too pleased. Yeah.
It sounds. I listened to the audio off of the White House YouTube page of the Air Force One. I heard Lindsey Graham's voice. It sounded like he was standing next to President Trump, and I think Howard Lutnick was there too.
Hey guys, good morning, everyone. Gax, let me say something really quick to Patrick, because I'm on a space with the internet. I'm sorry about it, Janet and Corvo. Patrick, when the communists take power, the first thing that they do, they kick out all the criminals out of the country, and they become the cartel. That's the thing that you're mistaking. The cartel weren't there when Chavez was there. He cleaned up the entire place, like Castro did. Afterwards, the cartels that survive are the ones that are working for the government. So every single one that you see around already, they have all the information, who they are. That's why the charges to Maduro was that he was in charge of the Cartel de los Soles, because he was the center. But actually, the cartel has been running from Havana. I don't know if you remember, in 1989, 1990, there was a top official of Castro's regime that went and deal with Pablo Escobar. And Castro, he took him to trial, and he took him to a fire squad, a bunch of them. Then he cleared up his name a little bit but he didn't stop negotiating with this. This was the next industry for them. What Maduro did is the same thing like they do in Mexico. The minute that you see the cartels going away completely out of the picture, that means that the government becomes the cartel. Sorry, everyone. Let me calm down. Appreciate.
Sorry. No, it's good. It's good information from a guy who was born in Cuba. You know this better than anybody, Joaquin. So, yeah, that's the other thing too. If you look at the paperwork, Patrick, I don't know, and everybody else, I don't know if you guys looked at it. I got to download that PDF later today when I have some time. I got to read it, but that court paperwork that the Department of Justice filed, it's not prosecuting Nicolas Maduro, his wife, and those other two guys they took out. I think one of them was his son, as head of state. It's head of the cartel that Joaquin was mentioning. I believe that's what the arraignment says. So I understand this is controversial, or there's debate about this, but we didn't arrest and extract the president of Venezuela. We in our paperwork, which is all that matters, this is where feelings and opinions don't matter, guys. It's court paperwork. Nicolas Maduro is the defendant as the head of the cartel, not the head of state of the allegedly sovereign country of Venezuela. Do you guys follow me? You understand? If somebody's read that, you guys get it. I understand that there's a gray zone there and people and ambiguity. It doesn't matter. That's what's on he's being prosecuted as a cartel boss, not as a tyrant president. And that distinction's not being made. If somebody's read the Department of Justice paperwork, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Joaquin is correct in that regard. Remember, what is Trump saying? He's not the president of Venezuela. So why would they use Delta Force to extract the president? And again, in our eyes, we extracted a fugitive that's the head of a drug cartel.
Can either of you paint for me, because I don't understand here? Can you paint for me? I get the fact that he was the head of the cartel. Is the cartel separate from the government? Or
absolutely,
it is the government?
No, in our eyes, it's separate from the government. So in other words, we look at Venezuela, long story short, as a country under occupation. It's not the same thing. Now, obviously, people down there are going to say that's the active government.
So
why have they tried to topple him?
So it's not destabilizing the place, is what you're saying?
No, it's already destabilized, Patrick. It's run by drug lords. It's completely destabilized.
Well, so that's what I was getting at earlier. That I'm trying to wrap my head around.
Are we making it worse? Short term, it's worse for the people in political power, which are not necessarily the elected political class, if you follow me. Yes, it's hard. I mean, people are not going to be getting 3 meals a day in Venezuela, like by Wednesday, the people that were previously starving. No, I mean, but as far as it's stabilizing in terms of the United States interest, yes. Again, it's a long-term thing. It's not going to be solved in 3 to 6 months or anything like that.
I mean, I guess I just expect like the cartels to start flailing. How and what, I don't know. I mean, you've got landmass there that they can certainly have other borders besides the ocean, of which we have no direct control over, right? There's no force, there's no occupancy anywhere, right? We probably have spies, and that's it, right? And I'm just saying, well, so if the gravy train was oil and drugs, well, what's their commerce? If China's out, China and Russia, they all wanted to be in there for the oil and to play in the criminal mess over there, get their hands in it, right? Well, okay, so the Navy's there and China can't get in, Russia can't get in, not easily, air maybe, other country, but you get my drift. Like, okay, well, what next? again, I don't know a lot about it. I'm just trying to wrap my head around this and understand because you guys seem to know a whole lot more.
No, I mean, I need to study more pre 21st century Venezuela commerce. Like my history is hazy before Chavez got there. I don't know 100% what it was like, but uh, I don't Russia and China, do they have clandestine assets there? Absolutely. But no, I don't see a state visit by Putin or Xi to Caracas anytime soon. So I don't exactly know what the intention is of those other countries. All I know is that their lives from foreign relations, commerce, trade, military relationship with Maduro's regime is come to an end. Because I don't think that if that woman values her life, I don't think she's going to be on the phone to Moscow and Beijing anytime soon, I guess is what I'm getting at. This would be, I think her name is, again, Delcy Rodriguez, I believe her name is. I guess they swore her in. I guess she's the acting president of Venezuela. I don't fucking know, but time will tell. I do know President Trump has not talked to her personally, but I'm sure Rubio has. Probably in Spanish, obviously, and he basically, and he alluded to this yesterday on the press circuit he was doing. What's going to happen to you is going to be far worse than Maduro if you start talking to, uh, China again and Cuba and entertain anything with Colombia right now, et cetera, et cetera. So
Last question, and I don't mean to. I see Janet has her hand up, but I'm going to have to bounce here in a minute. Do you have any thoughts on Colombia and, more importantly, Cuba? What do you think's coming down the pike here? I mean, it's not like we have indictments so we can just go pluck people out of those countries from what my research. So what do you think's going on?
Cuba became a lot more isolated since Friday. So I think you brought up about the oil and all that. Again, it's a beachhead of all our enemies, right? Um, the transnational narco terrorism, like unmasked situation, took a massive blow over the weekend. Like I said, Venezuela, guys, here was the appeal of Venezuela. This is what Cuba has. I mean, this is what Venezuela had that Cuba doesn't have, that I don't think Colombia has. Uh, First of all, Venezuela was probably the friendliest country, not island. Cuba's an island, of course. Venezuela is a pretty big fucking country. They had the friendliest relations with Hezbollah and Iran, with Russia, with Beijing, etc. So basically, all the people we're rivals with, their number one ally in the Western Hemisphere. It wasn't Argentina, it wasn't Brazil, it wasn't Guatemala. It was Venezuela because it's the most resource rich oil wise of South America, basically all Latin America. Cuba doesn't have oil. Okay, Cuba doesn't have, I guess, maybe access to the rare. They don't have the infrastructure to mine. I don't even know what there is to mine in Cuba. But I guess what I'm saying is Venezuela was like the Dubai for Latin America and, by extension, militant Islam and communist Chinese. They all basically met up. It would be like the Western powers meeting in Brussels or Geneva. Do you follow me, guys? It would be like if, the president of the United States, the prime minister of Britain, president of France, they all had an international sit down in Geneva, Switzerland, or Brussels, Belgium, where NATO is. That's what, like, not the Shah, not the regime in Iran, but like one of their deputies, the deputies from Beijing, the deputies from Moscow, they would meet in Caracas, basically, in Cuba too. So it's very, very interesting that, you know, Russia's this allegedly, like, not the Russian people, but this Russian government. They're so modernized and Christian and progressive now, and they repudiate homosexuality and they want religion taught in schools, which I'm not against any of this stuff. I'm just saying it's kind of funny how they break bread with fucking the Castro regime and the China CCP in South America, you know. But hey, they're allowing Orthodox Christianity back in Moscow. They're reopening all the churches they bombed uh, during the Soviet Union days. So congratulations. So all right, let me get to the Janet. Will go to you, then back to Cuervo. You guys grab a mic. I got a little more time, so let's make this a good one. You're welcome. Gemini, by the way, thank you for grabbing co-host and good morning to you. Uh, good stuff, Janet. Let me just read you some stuff I threw up in the nest here. So Janet, kind of to your point, absolutely you should distrust Israel or any government. Absolutely. But it doesn't, the Israeli thing doesn't apply here. And public sentiment seems to agree. I would look up in the nest, guys. I believe it's do I have it up there? Let me get it up there. Kalshi has a point. There's a 3% chance on the betting markets, which is the only thing you should be paying attention to, friends, that the Maduro capture was staged. 3%. So I don't think that this is distraction or deflection or whatever. I just spent an hour, a bit more than that, trying to lay out to you guys as I see it why the reasons were legit. This is the Western Hemisphere. It's not the Middle East. Has nothing to do with that. So let me get that up there. A few other things. Many of over the weekend they and I appreciate it, by the way. I'm not complaining. I can't even believe you guys care about my opinion that much. But thank you. Uh were asking me, is this some sort of distraction from Minnesota? I just counted while Janet was talking. I got 6 messages, 6 different people about that, all with the same question. 2 of you, by my count, are in here right now. So let me answer it for you. Um, it's not a distraction from Minnesota because Tim Walz just announced he's not running for reelection. So, what do you think made that possible, guys? Wouldn't you say, as I tried to tell you last week, that would be a huge admission of guilt? Therefore, there may be some arrest. Guys, Small Business Association, Health and Human Services, basically all the Fed money is being pulled from Minnesota right now, suspended until evidence can be provided that it's actually going to, like, feeding the homeless, school lunch programs, etc., healthcare. As of Saturday, those receipts have not been provided from the state of Minnesota to the federal government. So again, here's another admission of guilt. So who's going to get arrested, guys? I don't know, and you won't know their names either because they're Democrat bureaucrats in Minneapolis and nobody fucking cares who they are. What's important is Tim Walz just resigned, meaning, now, do I think Mike Lind, the pillow guy, is going to win? No. But I just think Tim Walz, through his stupidity and corruption, made the next Democrat governors of Minnesota's job a hell of a lot harder in November because they're going to, just as I told you last week, they're going to have to answer questions about why your predecessor is stepping down if there was no there with the Somali corruption, which may or may not lead to an arrest or arrests of nameless people nobody knows. Whatever makes you happy. What's important to me, though, is that the credibility gap is gone and that we could, a lot of these Somalis have been picked up by ICE, the illegal ones, in the last 2 weeks. So anyway, this is not to derail. There's a sideline there with that. And I'm sorry, I do have it up in the nest. It's Poly Market, not Kalshi. So,
Hey, Gads, it's
yes.
kind of interesting. The party must have really told him how it's going to be for him to bow out.
With Waltz, he had no recourse. I mean, what was they couldn't risk him a year making a fool of himself like he's been doing since we all found out who he was. So,
well, it sounds like rational minds are starting to get their head around their problems. Because the MAGA world, right? It looks like they've lost their minds, right? And finally, it sounds like somebody's pushing buttons behind the curtain.
Right. Well, I mean, and as Minnesota doesn't have term limits for governor like some of your states do, guys. So trust me, he was ready to run again and probably win. So I don't know what you want me to tell you guys. There is there with the Somali thing, and it's really going to hurt the Democrat Party on the state level and the national level because they've been defending this shit, saying it's white supremacy to look into this fraud. So, and Nick Shirley's a Mormon who was paid off to go make that video. I mean, there's a mental health problem in this country, guys, and it's not just on the left. Okay, I'll just leave it at that. What else do we got? So Maduro's capture stage, 3% chance. So much for the distraction, because that's people putting their money in their ass where their mouth is. So much for that, trying to distract from Somalians in Minnesota. I could do this all day, guys. Trust me. I'll entertain anybody's theory, but if it could be debunked by third-party sources, don't get in your feels on me. Okay. Next post up there, Watcher Guru. Chinese oil stocks fall on fears that U.S. capture of Maduro could disrupt China's oil access. I haven't looked for about 2 hours, but this morning I saw crude oil was about $57 a barrel. An ounce of silver, one silver coin's about $75. So you got almost a $20 disparity there. So this is good news for oil. In fact, I purposely pulled over here to this will make Nasty happy if he's in here. Are you in here, Nasty? Yeah, I think he is. I just got off the highway. There's a BJ's here in this town I'm in, and let me see that it's one of the ones with a gas station. Regular unleaded is $2.48 a gallon here, and this is about 30 miles from my house in southern New Hampshire. So $2.48 for regular unleaded. I can't see diesel because of where I'm parked. The sign's at a bad angle. I just had to step out of the truck to see. So I couldn't see these prices from the highway. That's why I had to pull over. So this is very interesting, guys. So I'm already paying. I'm like I said, I live about 30 miles from here. Okay, and this is about what I'm paying on the seacoast, and I'm a bit more inland right now. So there you go. This is good news. Eventually, gas prices, I think, are going to be below $2.50 a gallon in the entire country. Maybe not California, but everywhere else. All right, Corv, I'm going to get to you. Last thing here. Okay, so I talked about that. Waltz drops out of Minnesota governor race. You got to remember the advantage he has in Minnesota, guys. That's like a guaranteed victory for any Democrat. So, again, justice is coming. Maybe not as quickly as you'd all like, but it is coming. So, Corvo, go ahead.
Yeah, a couple notes I took. Good context, and I just want to say this: like everybody's commentary has been really good. One of the reasons why I like coming to your space is because you keep it, very focused on a topic, and we can all kind of stay focused on that. Couple things that I kind of point out here: approval ratings, right? Like all the people that are complaining about this thing going on with Venezuela. Let's not forget that they have a 17% approval rating. Okay, Congress has a 17% approval rating, and I'm gonna call out Republicans on this one because post Donald Trump election, there was a pretty big spike, a double digit spike in approval rating in Congress, because after the election, a lot of people thought, well, hey, we're gonna codify this MAGA doctrine. And what's happened over the last 10 months is that they haven't done shit. And so their approval rating, Congress as a collective, went from, I don't know, 30 I think it was 36% down to 17%. So the GOP has squandered a lot of post-election bump in their approval. And my point on this is that all these people that are complaining about what Trump is doing, they have one of the lowest approval ratings, ever recorded in Congress. Okay, one of, not the worst. And Trump, his approval rating is staying steady. It's not sinking. That's a big tell. Okay, so his approval rating's like 41%. And I want to add one other stat to keep people understanding this. There's still a big portion. You mentioned mental health, and it's going to underscore that. 42% of this country still believes that Donald Trump colluded with Russia in the 2016 election. They still believe that. Okay. So when we look at approval rating, Trump's approval rating would be 70% right now if Democrats hadn't pushed this hoax and gaslit American people about Russia. Okay. So keep that in mind. And then I still want to see this. I want to call this out for you Texans in the room. I want you guys to remember that a Venezuelan, a former Smartmatic executive, is running elections in Texas. He ran them in the Philippines, got called out, and for some reason, nobody either did a background check on this guy or Texans just felt like, oh, well, we can use this guy to our advantage and hired him in Texas. And now he's an SVP of customer success at Heart Systems, which is the system that we use in Texas. So I just wanted to call that out. And then, just one other thing, Patrick, you mentioned about Tim Walz. Let's just remember how the Democrat Party operates. When a candidate becomes unelectable, they just swap out the person because, hey, if we can just put a new face on the party policy, great. The Democrat voters are so stupid that they fall for it. They're like, oh, well, hey, we got a new guy in there and he's saying something totally different. We'll elect him because we can't elect Tim Walz. So that's the problem I have with the Democrat voter base, is that they just fall for the swap out of the candidate every time. Keep that in mind. So it's going to be the same party policies, just with the new face.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of the boomers like Mike Lindell on this app, and I'm here to tell he's not winning that race, guys. Okay, a Republican is not going to win the governorship of Minnesota, but Cuervo's overall point is correct. So what's the big deal for us? The big deal for us, guys, is, again, you're worried about the Republicans not having anything to run on in the midterms because they haven't done anything, which is mainly true. Now they have a gift, and it's called "My Democrat Opponent Won't Repudiate What Their Brethren in the Democrat Party in Minnesota have been doing." Fraud to a certain ethnic group we can't even confirm that they're here legally, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, you get my point. It's the political damage that we get out of this, because, guys, there will not be a single, I don't care what state you're in, even New York, even California, there's not going to be a single Democrat that's saying, running on, lock Tim Walz up, or any Democrat in Minnesota. That doesn't mean it's going to resonate with their voting base at all. But just think of the lunacy of that. Now, there were Republicans like Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, former Republicans, whatever they are, who would be advocating for Donald Trump to be locked up over January 6th. And they were in Congress, and I believe before they stepped down, they ran on that. At least Kinzinger did. He was on that one or two Republicans on the J6 committee, I believe. So see the differences, guys? And it doesn't sit well with people. Case in point, Liz Cheney got her ass beat. She lost the primary in Wyoming. So the Republican Party rejected her. Adam Kinzinger retired from Congress to put his fucking bloated Botox face on CNN because he knew there was no appetite for his reelection. And I think he's from Illinois. So they can, the Democrat, and regardless of what state they're in, they can support or be a cheerleader for what happened in Minneapolis over the last, well, basically since the pandemic with this federal money. It's going to win them any elections. So as of right now, that's the net gain for the Republicans, is the political damage of this issue. And it's more than a Minnesota thing. All right. We'll get into that another day. Patrick, you'll be the last speaker this morning, then I'll wrap it up.
I'll make it quick. So I hear everyone tout this low congressional approval rating, and I've been wanting to say this for a while. Every time I hear it, I think about it. I don't think it means what everybody thinks it means. I think this low approval rating means to us as voters that people are going to turn out in droves. And it doesn't mean that it's going to necessarily move the needle as to who gets elected. It just means everybody's fed up, right? And so whoever's going to be on the ticket is going to be on the ticket, and they're going to get more people out to vote. And I think that helps Democrats, just to be brutally honest. right? Because they're motivated, they're angry, and they're fearful, and they're going to turn out. That's my 2 cents.
Oh, no, turn not a problem for them, but I think my main takeaway, Patrick, as I've been saying for really the last 2 months, I'm not expecting any miracles in the midterms. I'm expecting actually the same. I think the Senate's going to stay the same, 53-54 Republican majority. The House, if Mike Johnson can pull this off, it's going to be by less than 10 seats, like he has now. Because what's happened is the country is, you're right, the Democrats are motivated to be anti-Trump voters in these midterms. But I'm starting to get it. That's the macro take. I'm starting to get micro take on this. And I've been doing some reading and listening to people, particularly that Seth Keshel guy who, man, I really wish he would collaborate with like Pressler and people like that, because the real data is as follows, I think. There are certain states that since the 2020 election, states that Biden lost, that are getting redder. Arizona is one of them. Even though Carrie Lake didn't win her election, Trump won the election last year. North Carolina is another one that he's very bullish on, and that we might just hold that Senate seat with Michael Whatley. It's not about having a feeling that this is going to happen. He does the hard data research, and look at the numbers, guys. The Republican Party in North Carolina is getting more registered Republicans by the day. Democrats are losing. I mean, usually, guys, in midterms, people do not register unless they have the intention of voting, particularly in North Carolina. This is a seismic shift in, I think there was, maybe with some evidence behind it, but there was a notion that North Carolina was becoming a hard purple state. I would say Georgia's a very purple state, trending towards blue right now. That's not the case with North Carolina. That's not the case with Arizona. Those are two really important states in presidential years and in midterms. That's the good news. Michigan, again, a hard purple state, still is, but here's the good news. As I've been saying for many months, Michigan's one of those states where the tariffs are actually quite helpful politically because of the Rust Belt and Detroit and manufacturing, steel and aluminum tariffs. Mike Rogers looks like he is going to win that Senate seat in Michigan, which is a retiring Democrat. Gretchen Whitmer is stepping down, and John James is not the best, but his polling looks really solid, guys. And the Teamsters, who could, you want to talk about the Democrats being mobilized with grassroots. The OG interest group, grassroots, is the Teamsters Union going back to World War II. Historically Democratic. This twice in 80 years that the Teamsters Union has supported a Republican. 1984 with Ronald Reagan, 2024 with Trump. That would be that Sean O'Brien guy who you see on the media. He's the president of that union. So what does all this mean? To Patrick's point, New York's going to get bluer. California's going to get bluer. Some of these purple states are going to start embracing the red a little bit. I can't speak for 2028. These are my predictions based on the research I've done for 2026 for these midterms in this November, about 10 months from now. Take that for what you will. It's just one man's opinion, not an emotional idea. It's based on research that I've been doing. So the Democrats will be motivated, to Patrick's point. I don't know if it's going to be enough to take over both houses of Congress. All right. And you're seeing the handwriting on the wall. California looks like they're going to get away with gerrymandering that state, Gavin Newsom's plan, and also New York City elected Mamdani. I mean, it's regardless of the number of patriots in those states, and I do believe they exist, they're a dying breed in New York, but there's just not enough. Politics is a numbers game, guys, as you all know, and they ultimately don't have the numbers. You know, New York's not going to turn red. I mean, that's great that the last Republican stronghold is out in Nassau County, Long Island. That's good for them. There's not enough of you. You know, I've talked to some people from out that way, a couple people on this app, and they low-key agree with me. It might be the reddest part of New York, but it's not enough red to make a difference. Sad to say.
I think I just want to point out,
Yeah.
because it's easy to fall into the trap of looking at the congressional approval rating going down, down, down. Do not misinterpret it, right? Because I don't think it means what people kind of, oh yeah, everyone's pissed at Congress. Yeah, but that also means that, in my opinion, I think that turns the heat up in these elections, right? I just think if people are angry, more likely than not, the Democrats, especially in a midterm with a Republican president, with Trump of all people, they're going to turn out. That's what I see when I see that poll.
When does Congress have good approval, too? That's the bigger question, friends. They never do.
Well, the fact that it's moved negligibly, 5 points, which 4 or 5 lower,
Probably, yep.
But I'm just saying, I think it means more to the people are that much more motivated only because they're pissed because nothing's getting done.
Yeah, but just remember, guys, as I've been saying, and this will be the last word because I got to close this up. It doesn't matter how pissed off Democrats are in New York and California. It matters how pissed off independents are in North Carolina and Arizona, and that's what the midterms are going to come down to. Like 20 congressional districts in purple states and some red states that might have a Democrat congressperson currently. So don't get discouraged about New York, New Jersey, Virginia, they're not relevant, guys. Minnesota, not relevant. People pissed at what's going on in Minnesota. It won't flip a congressional seat in Minneapolis. It might flip a congressional seat in like Raleigh, North Carolina, where there's currently a Democrat, and it's a purple district. You follow? It might help Michael Whatley beat Roy Cooper in North Carolina. That's the net victory we hope to take out of this. You got to stop hyper-focusing on the deep blue and deep red states. Doesn't matter what Florida's doing. It matters what North Carolina's doing. All right, guys, have a good day. I got to bounce. All right, talk to you soon. Thanks, Gemini.
If you voted for Donald Trump, that means that you stand for everything that is going on in our country right now. That you stand for all these tariffs, that you stand for this mass deportation, that you stand for getting men out of women's sports. I mean, the list goes on and on. You actually stand for this. If you voted for Trump, you actually stand for this. And if you voted for Trump, I just want to say that I love you and thank you so much for saving this country. Have a blessed day.